and in particular these two deviations also are warranted and justified. I think with respect to the municipal land use law, it's certainly the improvements to the circulation, advance the free flow of traffic. That's purpose H, and then also providing a resource that integrates a performing arts center, housing, classrooms, all of what's encompassed in this project certainly provides for sufficient space for in appropriate locations for a variety of uses. And this board is probably well aware, this is really the key puzzle piece, the key piece to this whole NJCU West Campus redevelopment area. So, it does advance a lot of those objectives with the redevelopment plan. Shifting gears to the negative criteria, again, it's very straightforward. We don't think that there's any sort of substantial impairment to the zone plan or the redevelopment plan with these two deviations. They're very minor when you're looking at the grand scheme of having to comply with all the other intensity related requirements, as well as all the other requirements of the setbacks and integration of the parking and the parking deck with the overall site. With respect to any impairment of the general welfare, we've been in contact with city staff, as well as city planning staff, as well as city engineering. We've worked through a lot of the issues with respect to some things that were covered by the architect, the location of the transformers, the stormwater. A lot of the focus was on pedestrian access and that interaction, not necessarily, the vehicles obviously wasn't the main point here. So we really were trying to make sure that these changes and tweaks advance the protection of pedestrians and benefited their safety in traveling this area. With that, I think my testimony is pretty simple. I think the project as a whole is a really great opportunity to complete this last block of the redevelopment plan, and the two deviations that are being requested are justified.
Thank you, Charles. I defer to the chairman, to council. Matt Ward, we do have a representative. We have the engineer for NJCU here to discuss anything related to the public plaza. As I said in my intro, while it's not part of this application tonight, it's not part of the approvals we're seeking, the public plaza portion, it is somewhat tied to the application. Matt, if I can certainly answer certain questions. If you want the engineer to come on and give some testimony, we'd be happy to have him do so.
I think if it's more to the board's liking, maybe they can ask questions of your professionals, and
Sure.
and then we can move into that. Should we need to?
Okay.
Markesh, are you there? Or I'll just take the lead. Does any commissioners have any questions for the testimony, the professionals here tonight?
I have this is Commissioner Torres. Question for Hiller, the architect. The 8x11 fence panels, that art thing that you spoke about on that one drawing, they blow in the wind that you were talking about. What is the durability of that material? Can it be, because there's a lot of hinges there, can it be damaged real quickly, broken real quickly, or is it made of a strong, durable material?
No, it's aluminum, and it's and actually there is no hinge. It's actually looped over a wire, or not even a wire, a rod, and it moves freely in the wind that way. So there's no mechanical parts that are going to fall apart. The other thing we want to do is is raise it up a little bit off the ground so that people can't hit it with baseball bats and that kind of stuff.
That's what I'm looking at, because it is a walk. It's on a side along the sidewalk, right?
Yeah.
Where that fence is at, located of a pedestrian sidewalk.
Yeah, there's a sidewalk there, and so we do want to raise it, and that'll be a detailed part of the design. That lower part of it will still be an attractive extension of the material. It just won't be all the moving parts for that lower portion.
Okay, yeah, I would think that would be nice. We don't want to see 2 years, 3 years down the line where we got all these moving parts that are damaged and stuff that would not be prior to a nice, beautiful project like you have right now. You know,
I think you're absolutely right. I'm with you on it.
okay. That is all I have then. That's the only question I had. Thank you, Commissioner Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Torres. Does anybody else have any questions for the applicant or their professionals? If not, council, we're ready to open the public if no other commissioners have questions. Commissioner Takor?
No, we good. We
Matt,
can
are you
open the.
able to call on the public, or let's take a motion public first off?
I would like to just give some explanation as to where Chris was going with and some representatives from NJCU here. So the board, there's an amendment that came that was brought to the board and went through council, proposed by NJCU and the applicant here tonight. The zoning that was put in place puts responsibilities both on the applicant through the provision of the school, the Performing Arts Center, the affordable housing, and then on the NJCU side of this is the build out of the plaza, a different design that was shown in some of the presentation that was given by Mr. Hillier, and there's a representative here tonight from NJCU to present on that, should we need him to. And there's also a series of community benefits that are more programmatic in nature that are also going to be provided by NJCU. And that was also codified and made part of the zoning for this site. And there is a representative from NJCU as well as council for those folks. So I don't know if we need to invite them up, confirm that they are working with this applicant to satisfy that zoning, those pieces of the zoning. I know that there are MOUs that are being put into place, as well as affordable housing agreements that are being worked out, as well as they are looking to update the design to the plaza to make sure that it is timed with the construction of this facility. And there's a condition even made into the staff report that speaks to that further. So I don't know if it's necessary for us to do that at this time, commissioners, but otherwise we can open it up to public.
Council, as I understand it, is that something that you're able to represent and would be a condition of your approval? Or do
Well,
you
it
feel
is. I think that what Matt had said is important. There's the redevelopment plan itself, the NJCU West Campus redevelopment plan as it was amended, contemplates the fact that what's going on here. And importantly, and I think most importantly, is that we will not be able to receive a CO for the work being performed related to the project tonight until NJCU has completed the public plaza improvements and the city has an agreeable and executed community benefits program agreement. So I can represent the fact that NJCU is working with the JCRA and the city to finalize the community benefits agreement and the amendment to the NJCU's redevelopment plan, or excuse me, redevelopment agreement. Drafts are being circulated with JCRA as we speak. NJCU does intend to come back before this board for a Section 31 review under the municipal land use law in about 6 to 8 weeks. That's their intention. That is what I can represent. If we do need further testimony from the professionals and the representatives from NJCU, we'd be happy to do so. As it relates to affordable housing, the redevelopment agreement outlines that there will be 24 affordable units as part of this project. 14 will be studios, 5 one-bedrooms, and 5 two-bedrooms. I did speak with Gigi Gazzone in the Affordable Housing Division. We are going to be working together on an affordable housing agreement. We understand our requirements under Chapter 188 of Jersey City Ordinance. That is what I can speak to. If we do need further testimony, we're happy to provide it.
Matt and council, it sounds to me like there is going to be a Section 31 review with respect to that plaza and those components. Obviously, the JCRA is involved with the community benefit component and agreement. So, council, obviously, without those components being hammered out and finalized and done, quite frankly, the applicant's going to have the CO issue and how we would address that in the future. So I don't see the need for that testimony in conjunction with this application if they have to bring a Section 31 review in the future and they still have to negotiate those other agreements. Is that fair? Do you?
I think that I do think that is fair. I do defer to the board and respect the board's decision, but I do think that is fair from our perspective.
So, Matt, from a legal perspective, I'm okay, and I would advise the board that I'm okay from a legal perspective with the manner in which the application's been presented, and understanding that fact is something that, there's some moving parts in these applications on such a large scale. But
and Counselor, I think it's important to note that we wouldn't want to necessarily make the finalizing of a community benefits agreement a condition of this approval per se, because we want to be able to move forward and pull permits with the understanding that it's a condition of us getting a CO, but not necessarily a condition of this approval for us to meet prior to pulling permits. Is that?
Yeah, I think the condition in the resolution should state that it's a condition of the CO, but not
Correct.
to pull the permits, just so we document it properly. I agree with that.
Okay, thank you, Counselor.
Do all the commissioners understand the issue pertaining to the plaza? And do they have any questions that they want to ask or hear from regarding that, even though it's technically not part of the application directly this evening?
I understand.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Okay, so then let's open it up to the public. Commissioner Takor, if you could request
Yes.
that motion.
Yes. The public is, anybody from the public? Please raise your hand.
And Commissioner Takor, we just have to request a motion to open to public. Anybody want to make that motion?
Motion to,
I do. Open.
You getting that, Mike?
Motion to open to public.
Thank you, Dr. Desai.
I second
Yes.
it.
Thank you, Commissioner Cruz.
Because you are sleeping.
Matt, are you able to, so anybody from the public, Matt, I guess they have to raise
Please,
their hand?
yes. Please raise your hand, and if you're calling in, please dial *9. I'm not seeing anyone raise their hand at the moment. Oh, here we go. I'm sorry. We have D. Ridley that is getting promoted to panelist to come and talk.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Oh,
Oh, okay, great.
Hi, Matt. This is Chris Murphy. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I got kicked off of the internet. I'm on my phone now, so
Okay.
I'm back.
Okay.
Right. Council, we do have a member from the public. If the member from the public can identify themselves, please.
Hello, this is Councilwoman Ridley. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Thank you, Councilwoman. And Councilwoman, do you swear or affirm the testimony you give to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Okay. I just wanted to make a comment. I know that this project is a big deal for many residents, and I thank the planning board for all of the, the time that they've spent reviewing these slides and, really considering this. And thank you to our planning department for all the work that was put into this. We had community meetings on this project, and I think that this is something that the community is really looking forward to. And I'm not here to persuade any
No.
other, but I just want to say that this is a good project for this area of the city that has been lacking in development and recreation for a long time. And I just want to all those involved who agreed to do a community's benefit and to make the residents in Ward A part of this project, and for continuing to pretty much adhere to what we've asked as far as including our children in the area, Jersey City Public Schools, and also offering space to community groups. So I just wanted to, make that statement and put that in there. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have any other comments? Please raise your hand or dial *9. Okay, Commissioner Takur, I do not see anyone raising their hand at the moment.
Commissioner Ducko, I'd like to make a motion to close the public portion of the meeting.
I second it.
Approved.
I second it.
Session
muted.
So,
Okay, commissioners, would you care to have some more comment from staff? It's time.
the is staff going to make a comments now, or we are going to ask the question to the staff?
Matt, you want to make your comments, the staff?
Sure. So staff provided the commissioners with the memo from engineering, which was already mentioned. It was dated April 24th, 2020. They testified to the fact that they do not have any issues with the comments and will be able to comply. Staff provided the board and the applicant with a memo dated April 2nd, 2020. And they testified to the deviations that were listed for this application to the satisfaction of staff. We've discussed a bit about affordable housing. They are working out on an affordable housing agreement. It said they will comply with Chapter 188 of the Municipal Code, which controls the affordable housing in the city. They have described the other zoning requirements, being the Performing Arts Center, the university use. We touched upon the programmatic community benefits, and that's covered in one of the recommended conditions in the staff report, as well as discussed by Santo, as well as the build out of the plaza. There are 7 recommended conditions from staff. Many of them are the typical ones that we see in our reports, and I'll just highlight some of the ones that are more particular to the site. So condition 5, the build out of the plaza shall be complete as deemed by city staff prior to any certificate of occupancy for this application. And 6, all agreements deemed necessary to effectuate the requirements of the redevelopment plan shall be executed between the city and the NJCU prior to any certificate of occupancy for this application. And 7, the applicant shall comply with Chapter 188 of the Municipal Code as it relates to the provision of affordable housing. Beyond that, there is no other staff comment. Do you have any questions for me?
Anybody, any commissioners, any questions?
No.
Okay. Can somebody make a motion?
Make a motion, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion to approve case number P19-193 as it was presented to the board tonight.
Second.
And I second it.
Motion made and seconded. Roll call. On a motion to approve with conditions, Commissioner Torres,
Aye.
Commissioner Cruz,
Aye.
Commissioner Desai,
Aye.
Councilwoman Waterman,
Aye.
Commissioner Gangadin.
I just want to make a comment. I want to thank the everyone for the presentation, very detailed presentation under the circumstances here this evening. I have to agree with Councilwoman Denise Ridley. This is a project that's been long awaiting that will be involving the community. So thank you so much.
And Acting Chair Thakur.
Aye.
Motion carries, all in favor. All right. Thank you very much. I am going to look for Chris now.
I'm back, guys.
Okay. There you go.
Welcome.
Thank you. We are going to take a 5-minute break real quick, give our court reporter a rest. It's 8:26 right now. We'll come back at 8:31, everybody.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
ના પાછું આવવાનું હવે હું શું કરું મીટ કરી દઉં
Bob, you can leave the meeting, just so you know.
Okay, okay.
We're still waiting for video. We have David. I think we have Joyce. It's just her picture. She looks great. There's Dr. Desai. Okay, we have video back. And just an FYI for everybody, I think the water came back on. Make sure you boil your water tonight when it comes back on.
ઓછું કરું
Okay, are we ready to go, everybody?
It's
We'll come to
fine.
order. Okay, so we'll call case P19-181 is a preliminary and final major site plan with deviations. The address being 367 10th Street. And I will bring Mr. Harrington up.
Can you hear me?
We got you.
Okay. And so I don't know if my team's on yet. It's Dean Marchetto and Mark Chisvet.
Okay, I'm bringing Mr. Chisvet up now. And I don't see Mr. Marchetto.
seeing what he's signed in on or as.
Okay, there he is. Is that him?
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad everyone is mostly well in our class. Yeah. It's been interesting.
I have a Gammon.
I think that's him, yeah, yes.
Okay. We'll see. I hope we're not going to get Zoom bombs.
No, that
Whatever they're
was,
calling it.
I believe that's the name he had in our meeting earlier today on the Zoom.
Yeah, she works with Dean.
Okay.
That's me. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Did you get my camera?
No, we just have your logo. A little
right.
shameless self-promotion there.
No, I got it now.
There it is. Okay.
Thank you.
Placement.
Okay, take it away, Mr. Harrington.
Okay, thank you. For the record, Charles Harrington of Connell Foley on behalf of the applicant. Before giving an overview of what we're presenting, this was a notice case. I asked that they be marked into the record.
Thank you, Mr. Harrington. I am in receipt of the affidavit of publication, proof of mailing with respect to the application at 367 10th Street. All does appear to be in order. I do note that it does reference the Zoom conference format and the appropriate access code and PIN numbers. So we'll mark that as A1 for the record, and jurisdiction will be before the board.
Thank you.
Thank you, counsel.
So as an administrative matter too, the agenda list that we're requesting a deviation from the minimum parking spaces in the project. We are not asking for that. Instead, what we are asking for is approval of an amended parking management plan that is permitted and encouraged by the redevelopment plan. So that was actually part of our last approval too, a parking management plan. So it's being updated and revised for a number of reasons, one of which phase 3 is now, that is before you, is now 54 units, whereas the prior approval for phase 3 was 13 units. The parking ratio has also been reduced from 1 to 0.75. And that's all a result of, as this board may recall, the Enos Jones redevelopment plan. That was adopted probably 2 years ago with the intent to provide substantial improvements to Enos Jones Park. The first part of that plan was all on the southern side of Enos Jones Park. This property is located on the northern side of Enos Jones Park and lagged a little bit behind. So the first 2 phases of this project were developed under the 9th and Brunswick redevelopment plan. But this 3rd phase is being developed, or hopefully, if approved tonight, would be developed under the Enos Jones redevelopment plan, because that whole 9th and Brunswick redevelopment plan was absorbed into the Enos Jones redevelopment plan. And as part of those amendments, there's a number of community benefits that are required to be part of this project. My client is also required to be designated by the JCRA as the designated redeveloper, which they have been, and we are actually at the goal line to complete a redevelopment agreement with the JCRA. So we have been working in concert with them. And as part of any development of the property, a couple of things come into play. The developer is required to make an $800,000 contribution towards park improvements of Enos Jones Park, or work with the city to create some kind of improvements that they can initiate. So we're also working on that with the JCRA. It also has an affordable component, so that there are a requirement of 4 affordable units within, as part of the phase 3 development, 2 of which have to be moderate affordable units, and they are to be 1-bedroom units, and then two are workforce units. Of those, 1 has to be a 2-bedroom and 1 would be a 1-bedroom. And the way the redevelopment plan was set up is that you can provide for them in this project, or you can provide for them throughout the 3 phases. So 2 are proposed as part of the new project, 2 are proposed as part of phase 1. So the benefit of that is that you can get some affordable housing, those units, quicker than as part of the overall plan. So those are things that we've been working with the city. It's been probably a 2.5-year process to get to this point. So the board has seen it through the zoning regulations. It's been vetted through the council. We've been working with the JCRA. Now, we're presenting the site plan to you. There's 2 minor deviations we're requesting tonight. One is relief from a 4-foot setback on the garage, which Mr. Marchetto will tell you, how that works out and why we don't think that would be beneficial. Also, there's a nominal height variance for a little over a foot. That's really to achieve the 9-foot floor to ceiling heights, and Mr. Marchetto will address that as well. So I have 2 witnesses tonight. It's Mark Chisvet will be our civil engineer to take you through that. We'll also, Mr. Marchetto will be testifying tonight not only as an architect, but a professional planner, so that he can address those requested deviations. So with that said, I'm gonna move forward with Mr. Chisvet.
Okay, thank you, Council.
How's it going, Mark? You see me?
Can you hear me, Rick?
I can hear you all right. I'm going to swear you in, okay?
All right.
You swear any testimony you give tonight is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
And can you state and spell your name?
Mark, M-A-R-K, Chisvet, C-H-I-S-V-E-T-T-E.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chisvet, you've been qualified by this board previously as an engineer. Your license is current tonight?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. You're qualified.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chisvet, could you share your screen now and take us through your plans?
All right. So can you see? Wait a minute. Just 1 second. You should be able to see my site plan on the screen now. Is that visible to you?
Yes, we have it.
Okay. All right. So let me just get you oriented a little bit. Looking at this plan, this is our site plan C2 that was submitted earlier. North is up. So 9th Street is along the bottom of the page. Brunswick Street is along the right side. Along the northerly side is the extension of 10th Street, but this block, everything west of Brunswick Street, is actually been a vacated street, so it's privately owned. It's not a public street anymore. And to the west is the railroad track, grade railroad, and just to the lower edge of the page on the other side of 9th Street is where Enos Jones Park is that Mr. Harrington was speaking about. So this project is 3 phases. And just probably we're all around during the earlier phases, but just to recap, phase 1, which is completed, it was the building that was constructed along Brunswick Street. It went from 10th to 9th Street. It was the easterly third of the site. During phase 2, another building was constructed along 9th Street frontage, and the sidewalk along 9th Street was constructed. There's a parking lot and a dog run along the westerly side. That was all constructed during phase 2. And behind phase 2 is a surface parking area. So phase 3 basically is to convert that surface parking area to a parking garage, and the building above it will house the 54 proposed residential units. Someone changed pages on me, but I'm going to go flip back to that again. And I'm just going to zoom in. Bear with me a minute. And so you can see I'm zooming in on phase 3. So phase 3 abuts the phase 1 building. It also abuts the phase 2 building. There is the ground floor is all parking with exception of trash room and a lobby on the easterly side of that phase. There's a vehicular entry to the parking garage, which is a little further towards the west in the area that I'm hovering over now. and there's an exit to that parking garage, which exists now from the parking lot that's there, and it goes through a portion of the parking that was built in phase 2, and that's through here. So what we're proposing as far as parking, we're proposing a total of 147 parking spaces. The requirement is 167 spaces total for all 3 phases. And we propose to meet that parking requirement with a parking management plan to show shared parking between the retail components of the 3 phases and the residential components. So all of the parking will be valet. There will be 81 valet spaces inside the parking garage underneath the phase 3 building. There will be stacker parking in the westerly parking area. Right now, that's surface parking serving phase 2. And we are proposing another 66 spaces in 20 stackers. Most of these stackers will be 3 units high. The 3 stackers towards the rear and the 3 stackers that are against a building, those will be 4 high. The remaining stackers will all be 3 high. We are proposing a 26-foot high green screen wall that will wrap around the entire westerly and southerly perimeter of that parking area. And when Mr. Marchetto does his presentation, he'll show you an elevation view so you can have a better idea of what that looks like. But that screen wall will actually even come across the exit driveway that goes into 9th Street, and there will be an opening in that wall for vehicles to exit out. This parking lot is connected to the parking garage to a door at this lower left corner of the phase 3 parking garage. As I said, there's a total of 147 spaces. We are not proposing any parking along the curb side of 10th Street or former 10th Street. We are proposing 2 loading spaces on the westerly end of that. That satisfies the loading requirement for the 3 phases combined. There is the dog run that has been built in phase 2, that will remain. That's not being touched. All of the streetscape sidewalk that was built in phase 2 along 9th Street is to remain. That's completed already, and we're not touching that during phase 3 at all. Moving on to the utilities, the more engineering aspects of the site. I'm going to just change pages here. And what we're looking at now is the grading, drainage, and utility plan. This is drawing C3, again, previously submitted. The water and the electric for the phase 3 portion of this project is actually going to be extended from the phase 2 building. So the services are already there. That was built during phases 1 and 2. And the water room that built in phase 2 will be, the supply will come from that room and go into phase 3. And the electric would do the same thing. So there's no new water and electrical connections to the phase 3 building. There will be a new gas line that will run along just inside the center line of 10th Street on the applicant's side of the center line to feed gas meters that are proposed at the very northeast or upper right corner of the phase 3 building, just off the lobby. And there will be a sewer connection during phase 1, a sanitary sewer line that connected to the main and 10th Street. It was constructed and stubbed under the sidewalk of the phase 1 building. And so we are just going to connect to the end of that pipe that was built during phase 1. And that's what it was intended for in the first place. And then as far as drainage and stormwater management, it's a combination of rooftop detention. There's rooftop detention on both the phase 1 and phase 2 buildings. There will be more rooftop detention on phase 3. That, in combined with the underground detention that was constructed, there are 2 large barrel pipes that was constructed in phase 1. And this was all designed during phase one, it was all designed with the anticipation that there would be other phases. So we don't need to extend or expand any of the underground, the rooftop drainage or detention on phase three is all the only additional storage that we would need to satisfy the municipal stormwater ordinance. I'm just going to go back to the site plan for a minute and just to sort of zoom in once again on the garage entry, just point that out so you can get a better look at it. And as Mr. Harrington explained, we were asking for a deviation, that the door here is not recessed back 4 feet. The door is basically in line with the northerly wall of the building. But since this is first of all, it's not even a public street, it's a private street, but there's really no pedestrian activity over here. The entrance to the building is to the east. It's a dead end. There's nothing there's just the railroad right of way over here to the west. So the amount of pedestrian activity that would be coming across this driveway is very, very minimal. And there will be some safety features that Mr. Marchetto will discuss when he talks about the building, as far as a strobe and other warning devices for this driveway as well. I'm going to keep my testimony short. It's not a very complicated project. And so unless you have any questions, that's it. That's all I have to say.
I think, are we going to wait till the end for questions?
Yeah, if we could, let's wait until the whole presentation's done, and then we'll go back for questions, just in a matter of time.
Should I stop my share at this point?
Yes, I think you can stop your share, Mark.
Yeah, please.
Just before I move on to Mr. Marchetto, I just want to clarify what I said about the affordable housing in phase one. I think it might have came out the wrong way, where the 2 units that are proposed as part of the existing phase one, that they would have to be provided before there is any CO for phase three. And so that I didn't know, it might have come out that they were going to be provided now in retrospect, but the point of that provision was that all of the units in phase one are already market rate units. So those units are going to be the same materials and same finishes as you would get in any market rate unit. And that's a requirement in the redevelopment plan for the new units in phase three as well. So the intent was that these affordable units are, they're not second class units. They're going to have the same materials and same finishes. So with that clarification, I would like to move on to Mr. Marchetto to bring you through the plan.
Okay, before we do, we did forget something in the beginning. I don't think we looked at your notice.
We did.
I'm sorry. I apologize. Okay, let's move on then.
Too, I just want to again clarify. We got a second review letter, and I'm just thinking this because of the prior application. What happened? Oh, there. We got a second review letter from the Jersey City Engineering Department dated April 20th. And that is after going back and forth with Ms. Wang, she confirmed that is the controlling letter. There is a prior letter dated January 22nd and a new letter dated April 20th. And she advised that the April 20th replaces her January 22nd letter. And we will comply and address all comments in her letter.
Okay, good. You saved me a question for later then. Thank you.
How's it going, Dean? Can you see me?
Yes.
All right, I can hear you. I'm just going to swear you in, okay?
Yes.
You swear any testimony that you give tonight is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
And can you just spell your name?
It's Dean Marchetto, DEAN MARCHETTO.
Thanks.
And Mr. Marchetto, we have qualified you in the past as an architect and a planner. I understand we're qualifying you as both tonight.
Yes.
So you have 2 current licenses for me?
Yes, I do.
Okay, you're qualified as both an architect and a planner.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to share my screen.
We have the same wallpaper.
That's nice. Okay. Can everyone see?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to take you around the building, a couple of photographs. As Chuck and Mark had said, this is a third phase of a three-phase project. The three phases were approved originally several years ago, and we're just completing the third phase. This is an aerial view looking north, so that helps you see where the project site is. The I-78 highway here, the railroad. This is Enos Jones Park in the foreground, and you can see this red brick piece is phase 2. This white metal panel building is phase 1, and behind it is where phase 3 will be. So if I move to the next photo, down from Enos Jones, this gives you, let me just square this up. This gives you a ground level view of the elevation. The elevation for the back side, which is phase 3, will be by and large a copy of this, which is what the original concept was approved in preliminary site plan before phase 1.
You lose Mr. Marchetto.
Oh, no, you can hear me? Oh, boy.
Okay, you're back.
I'm back, I'm sorry, I don't know what happened. Anyway, I hope you can hear me, but this is the Enos Jones Park view. And from here, you can see the materials. It's a red brick phase 2 and a white metal panel phase 1. And basically the back elevation, which is phase 3, will look just like this one, which is the original approval. And I'll show you this. So as you turn the corner on Brunswick, this is the corner. Brunswick is on my right, and 9th Street is on my left. And continuing around the building, this is the corner at 10th, the extension of 10th. And this is where my building will begin. Phase 3 will start right here where this telephone pole is. And if I go to the next photo, you can see where the project
We lost Mr.
site
Marchetto
is.
again.
You lost the sound?
Can you hear him? I can hear him.
Yeah, you froze up there.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, we got you back.
Okay. I don't know. Okay. Sorry about that. I'm not sure. Anyway, this is the project site. This parking lot is where the building will be built, and all the parking for this will disappear and be enclosed inside the ground level of the building. This photograph is an aerial view, again showing you the gap or the missing piece, phase 3. So this is the enlargement of the site plan to be able to show you phase 1 on Brunswick, phase 2 on 9th completed, and this gray area here is phase 3, which will complete the 3-sided building, and that parking lot will become an interior courtyard. So moving to the ground floor plan. This is the parking level. It will be completely a valet parking system. A parking management plan was submitted and approved. You can see that this will be a valet garage with a valet booth and the cars here. There is an entrance to the garage on the extension of 10th Street, which is no longer a public street. And this is where a 4-foot setback would be required. And I'll talk about that again later on the variances. So this here is section phase 2, and this is the parking level, the lobby, and the main lobby and the vestibule are located here, just at the corner of the building on the east side along the 10th Street corner. Moving to the first floor plan, once you get above the parking, you'll see what we have here is we have apartments that align on the north side as well as the new courtyard. And this is the courtyard now, which covers the parking, and there'll be a recreation deck there that will include a pool and outdoor amenity space. This will be used by the entire 3 phases of the building, and this will complete the puzzle. And these phases are all completed internally, so it'll act as one building, but they all have their own separate entrances, but they're interconnected for sharing amenities and mail and concierge and all of the common facilities. Moving up, this is the second through the fifth floor, your typical residential floor. And here, here you have residential units on both sides facing the courtyard and facing north towards the former 10th Street right-of-way. I zoom in here, you can see what we have. We have 54 residential units going in. There's one bedroom, 18 two bedrooms, and 3 bedrooms, we have 35. And the 6th floor plan has a slightly different unit layout. So we showed the plan, but it's very similar. It's just a different bedroom count, same configuration, residential units facing north, residential units facing the courtyard. And then the rooftop plan, similar to phase 2 and phase 1, there are roof decks up above on the roof that are shared by residents who have direct access through these individual stair towers to private roof decks associated with their units. And then coming up the elevator here, there's a common roof deck that the residents that don't have private roof decks can also share. Mechanical is up here on the roof, and it's surrounded by a screen, so it's not visible. Looking at the elevation of the building, this on the left side is the existing phase 1 building. And where you see the gray hatch moving to the right, that's the new facade along the north side of former 10th Street. This brick will match the same brick that is being used on the other side, on the Enos Jones Park side. You see the window pattern is very similar, slightly adjusted to accommodate the new unit layouts, but the whole spirit of the design remains the same as the original design for preliminary site plan with the red brick. And then a blow up here on the lower level, you can see that we have metal panels between the windows when you join windows between floors, and the materials are precisely the same. It's a metal panel, which is a pewter color, black window, and then the red brick. This is a cross section through the building. You'll be able to see here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 residential floors sitting on top of the ground floor parking level. And if I zoomed in here, you'll be able to see the courtyard elevations are matching the existing elevations on the other phases in the courtyard. It's a white fine grain stucco. The materials are located here on the upper right. The brick specification, the red brick specification, the stucco, the thin brick veneer located in certain features, and then the metal wall panel here, the pewter color between the windows. These are some development of details showing window dimensions, railing details for balconies, and the materials and the dimensions on the balcony side. Cross section in the other direction, looking into the courtyard. Also the base condition of the building along the former 9th Street. You can see it's a match line. It doesn't fit in this scale across the whole building. So it starts on the left with the adjacent phase 1. And then this is our main entrance. There's an address signage over the vestibule entrance. And then these are the parking garage spandrel glass, so we don't see the cars. They're hidden behind, but you still have the effect of a window at the base. And then the garage door, which is here, and then it continues here and moves all the way to the right side of the building. This garage door is one of the deviations we're requesting. The door itself is is required to be 4 foot setback into the facade for pedestrian safety. In this case, there is no pedestrian activity along this side, and if we recess the door into the building, we would lose parking spaces on either side of that door. So in this case, since we don't have any pedestrian activity, we felt that it would be best served if we use that space for additional parking. But to meet the intent of the code for safety, just in case somebody walks by, we've installed a little light here. It's a visual warning device that when the door opens and closes, that there's a little bit of a strobe there and a little bit of an audible sound. So it would warn a pedestrian if they were to walk past here that the door is open and there might be a car coming out. On the stackers, this is a detail of the screen. This is the green screen. It's designed to take plantings that would go up from the ground and intertwine themselves like vines through these metal grids. So it becomes eventually a green screen wall. And this is 26 feet high, designed to hide all the stackers behind. And this is a drawing that just shows the phase line. So you could see on the ground floor where the phase line is between phase 1 and phase 2, phase 1, phase 2, and now the new phase, which is inside the red line. And just to focus in on this detail, you could see if we were to take this door and recess it back, we lose these additional parking spaces here, these 2 additional parking spaces. But we do indicate that we will be providing a visual pedestrian warning device. But like our engineer, Mark Chevette, has said, that there is no pedestrian activity. This is a loading zone. Pedestrians would come in from the Brunswick and 10th Street corner here, and then the only pedestrian activity would be if you were to go further and enter the garage here. But of course, you can get into the garage through the interior of the building and pick up your car. It's a valet-driven garage. That is the overall general description. It's very simple. It's just a missing piece. It's almost a mirror, excuse me, almost a mirror image of this portion of the building, just repeated on the back side. And we do have these 2 deviations. And let me explain what they are. When phase 1 was built here, they used a comp slab structural floor system. And that structural floor system is about 2 inches thinner than this new structural floor system we're proposing to use, which is made of steel and concrete. It's an EcoSpan floor joist. It's a steel joist with a concrete top. And those floor joists are 2 inches bigger than the original floor slabs that were put in on phase 1. So in order to line our ceiling heights and our floor heights up and maintain 9-foot ceilings, I had to add 2 inches to each floor level. By the time I was done, I added up to 15 inches. Now, that 15 inches of additional roof height is behind the parapet. This roof line that carries right across phase 2, right across phase 1, will continue right across phase 3. The roof line that's perceived will be exactly the same. It's the height of the roof behind it is just 15 inches higher, but it's sunken down below the parapet. It might be easier to explain in one of these photos. Let me see if I can come in here. So here, this is an aerial view of where phase 3 will be. You can see that there's a parapet line on phase 1 that'll continue straight across phase 3. This interior roof is going to be 15 inches higher, but it's still behind the parapet. So we don't see it. It has no negative or detrimental effect whatsoever because it's completely invisible. But what it does provide is the extra 2 inches for steel and concrete joists allow us to use additional acoustical insulation to create additional soundproofing between the floor and the ceiling below. At the same time, it allows me to keep 9-foot ceilings in all those residential units to allow them to have the same ceiling height as phase 1 and phase 2. That would be the second deviation. Those deviations, I believe, can be granted without any detriment to the public good because there is no detriment. It has no effect whatsoever on the public perception, and it only improves the condition of the residential units. I think, what I would say here is that this can be granted and that there are no detrimental effects, but there is a positive benefit and it advances the intent and goals of the redevelopment plan, which one of the goals is to create a variety of different housing for low, medium, and upper level incomes. And these apartments then will all share, even the affordable units will all share the same nice 9-foot high ceilings. That's a general description of the project. I think these aerial photographs help make it simple to understand. And at this point, I can answer any questions that you have.
Hey, Dean, just real quick, on the parking management plan, you have reviewed the parking management plan, correct?
Yes, I did. There are 20 spaces that will be shared in the parking management plan. Currently, there are 38 spaces that are shared, and it works, shared between residential use and the retail use. And by the new parking system we have, it's going to be only a 20-car share. That 20-car share is reduced the amount of sharing by half. So it actually improves it. And it works now at the current parking management situation with phase 1 and 2. And it will only improve with phase 3 added because it reduces the shared parking. So 20 spaces will be shared. And the redevelopment plan suggests that we try to minimize parking and encourage the use of shared parking. So this is completely consistent with the redevelopment plan.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I do have just a couple brief questions. The address signage along 10th Street, is that sign backlit at all?
Let me find it here.
Sure.
I don't believe we actually selected the letters, but they look like they're just standoff letters. I don't believe, no, it's not backlit.
Okay. The other questions, how many bike parking spaces do you have in that garage? I saw them in there.
Yeah, we have 36 bike parking spaces.
Okay. And that's shared for the entire phase, the phase 1 and phase 2 also?
I know it's required to be 36 and we provide the 36. I'm not sure if it's just for this phase or if it's for the entire building. Maybe Mark would know on the zoning chart. You can ask Mark, but we meet the requirement. There is no deviation on the parking for bikes.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you, Mark.
Okay. Yeah, let me look at that. I'm looking at the zoning table right now. So we are required to only have 27 bike spaces for phase 2. We are providing 36.
Yeah, phases 1 and phases 2 both have their own bike rooms already.
Okay. That was my main concern.
Right.
Okay, then my other question would be the roof level. Is that publicly accessible, the rooftop on phase 3? Or is that just mechanical equipment up there?
I'll go back to the roof then. Okay. So here's the roof plan. Mr. Chairman, part of these are private decks, and then this is a common deck for the entire Phase 3 residence. So if you have a private deck, this stairway will take you down into your apartment on the 6th floor, and then you can come up in your private stair and access your private deck. There is a common area here, which is accessed by elevator to all of the residents. So there's a common deck for all of the residents and private decks for those residents who have apartments on the 6th floor. This is the mechanical area, and this is fenced off with a privacy mechanical screen.
Okay, so the railings for those rooftop terraces, are they off of the actual roof level, or are they mounted into the parapet wall?
No, they're back from the parapet, and they are mounted off of the roof, not on top of the parapet.
Okay, so those railings are, I'm not going to grill you on the height on the fencing. I'm sure it complies with all, safety requirements, but the height of those railings is from the roof level, not the parapet wall.
Yes, that is correct. Can you hear me? Yes. Can you hear me? Yes.
Okay, very good. My last question, and I would ask that this would be a condition on any approval tonight. The affordable units, are they constructed with the same materials as the market rate units?
Yes, and that's actually a requirement of the redevelopment plan.
Okay, good. Okay, that's it for me. Commissioners, anybody else have any questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Go ahead, Dr. Desai.
About valet parking. So anybody who parks in the parking lot, they have to use the valet parking?
Sorry, I didn't understand the question.
You have a valet parking, so everybody who parks over there, they have to use the valet parking?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. It's operated that way now, Commissioner, and it will continue that way.
And how long it will take for the car to come in or go out?
Well, I imagine it will be somewhere between 3 and 6 minutes for the valet to move 1 or 2 cars to get your car. We tend to find that there becomes habit for folks who live in residential buildings. Certain folks use their car on a regular basis. Certain folks use their car on the weekend, and the valet operator gets to know how that operates. So people become familiar with drivers' patterns, and the valet will be the same valet every day. It's a permanent job.
And that's I should note, that's a system that's in place right now for phases 1 and 2. So it's not a new concept at the project. It's just that the parking garage is essentially expanding here. So, but the valet service is in effect now.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else? Any questions?
Yeah, this is Commissioner Torres. One quick question with the valet. That's 24-hour valet parking? That service?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
In phase 3, I'm counting about 50 shared parking spaces right now in that area where you're gonna build phase 3 at. Where are they gonna be? Is there any temporary parking for those 50 cars that you showed back there? Or did you make any arrangements where they're gonna be parking at?
Yes.
Construction.
Yeah.
Right. That's a good question. And actually, my client has an agreement in place with the adjacent property owner for parking on his adjacent property during construction.
Yes. Okay, and that would be for mostly the tenants, not the construction workers, or both?
It's mostly for the tenants. I believe that's the intent here. And, you might have some contractors there too and serve both purposes, but the primary intent is for the tenants.
Okay, Thank you.
Any other questions, commissioners?
Nope.
Okay, actually, I did have one more question that I didn't write down. The driveway that empties out onto 9th Street from the parking garage. I don't know if you can bring, you just had a drawing up from the 9th Street view.
A photo?
Yeah, it was a photo. Actually, that's fine right there. You can leave that one on. Is there any way, and I've been dying to use this feature all night here, down in this area, is there any way we can get a warning light that a car is coming out?
I don't see why not. I think we can.
Okay, so that'll, you know, obviously, I don't know how that would operate. There's smarter people than me in the world.
Would be a motion. Would be a motion.
Yeah, motion detector.
Yeah.
So the motion detector would be, you know, set further back, like in here somewhere.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Okay. Excellent. Let me clear that out. Okay. All right. Again, anybody else? Any questions before we close it out? Any questions for Mr. Chisvet also? Okay. Anything else from you, Mr. Harrington?
No, that completes our presentation.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So at this time, we'll open up public. If you're here to comment, I see we have Mr. Hart back. That's great. I'm glad you got home safe tonight. I will promote you to a panelist at this point. And I don't know if you're on a computer or a video. I'll try and get your video up.
Video. I will start my video. Thank you.
Okay, great. We're on. Okay, so we have 5 minutes for you. And we
Thank
just
you.
have to swear you in.
Thank you.
Sir, if you could just state your name for the record, please.
My name is Michael Hart.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're giving, the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Hart.
Sure. And my address is 242 Brunswick Street, Jersey City. So it's on that Brunswick Street strip. And so my concern is the number of parking spots totally. And I'm supportive of the project. I appreciate much of the design, but I'm very concerned about the parking. I'm not going to ask questions because I have 5 minutes. What I'll do is state my concerns as I saw them and hope that you can respond. I think the first thing is the total number of spots still seems to be under 20 under the 166 or so needed or initially required. Just so you know, on my street, which is Brunswick, that faces the park, the whole half of my street north of me is taken up by one investor who literally rents out portions of the property he has as parking spaces. They're somewhat questionable in terms of how they work, I suppose, but that's how dire the need for parking is in our area. So for me to hear any kind of flexibility on total parking spots, it concerns me greatly. The fact that there's retail spots in Stackers and Valet indicates to me that somebody's going to be paying for this privilege of parking. So people coming to retail will have to pay, which is a deterrent to using the parking. And so I think they'll still be looking for street parking in the area. My other concern is the loading berths on the other side seem to rob spaces that could have been potentially used for public parking. I will look at when I looked at the management plan of parking, it looked like sardine cans to me. So I don't think a 3 to 6 minute time frame in terms of returning a car is quite realistic anymore. I don't know that that concerns me so much. I didn't see anything for handicap vans or anything about handicap parking in that arrangement. Finally, the last two thoughts that I had where I would be liking any kind of greenery or screening of the parking that's on the roof, rather than, I know that there is on 9th Street, and I appreciated that, but I wasn't sure if there'd be any kind of screening or greenery around the parking that would be on the roof. And finally, I just want to echo some of the concerns that I've heard about pedestrians. So whether it's 9th Street or 10th Street, you're near a park. That 10th Street area, though it's vacant, because it's vacant almost, is going to invite children on bicycles. You guys are just dismissing the idea that there might be pedestrians, but you've got kids who are going to turn that corner on a bike or ride past any of those openings on a bicycle, and I don't think you've well thought that out. Although, quite frankly, I approve the idea that your setback isn't 4 feet because it gives you more parking spaces, but I think you should possibly get some sort of Department of Transportation okay for some ballards or something like that that would protect the public more than a motion detector light. I don't know how to address my real concern that the total number of spots is still inadequate, but that's really where I'm coming from. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hart. Mr. Harrington, do you want to address some of those things? There's some couple of really good points in there.
Right. Well, I think we've addressed the parking and why we think it works, but a couple of comments on that overall. That when the redevelopment plan was amended or absorbed into 9th and Brunswick redevelopment plan, the parking ratio was actually reduced from 1 to 0.75, which I guess gives you an indication that the intent here was to provide for less parking here on the site. And the plan, the 9th and Brunswick plan and the Enos Jones plan specifically encourage you to have this type of parking setup where you have the valet and shared parking. So we're being consistent with what the plan wants you to do. I mean, as far as touching on the commercial and retail parking, I don't think this isn't really a retail commercial space that's going to be destination. It's more of a neighborhood commercial, so I don't think you're going to have people coming here and looking to get into the garage. But if you do, it is the valet service, so you can, that's common in the urban areas to have that to get in and out. We have a lot of it in downtown Jersey City as well. The safety features, I mean, the safety concerns, we're always aware of safety concerns with pedestrians and the parking. And I think that was a very good point the chairman brought up about having the safety measures on 9th Street, and Dean had proposed it on 10th Street as well. Now, 10th Street, to put this into perspective, that area that, we refer to it as a form of right of way, that was questioned with the adjacent property owner. There's a cross easement in place there, so where my client owns half of that former street, if you will. I've been told by the adjacent property owner it may not have been a former street, but the other owner owns the other side. So that's not public. That has to be kept open. And there were concerns about keeping parking in there, and it's that's why we're putting the loading there. So we're again, you're not inviting people and cars into there that aren't supposed to be in that location. That also, even though it's private property, the perception is it's a dead-end street. So you're not going to have people really running down or walking towards the end of that street. So, I mean, overall, we think there's 167 spaces required. We're providing for 147 within within the building through the valet service, and we have 20 shared spaces. So we think those shared spaces, they turn over with the commercial during the day, maybe the owners there or employees, and then the tenants that come back after work at night. So we think we're going to have a constant, fluidity there to work through this project, and I think that's consistent with the intent of the plan.
And Chuck, what about the handicap spaces? Are there handicap spaces available, or are they covered since it's a valet system?
We have handicap spaces. Mark may have that in his plan. Let me see if. I guess because it's a valet, there would be no reason to have a separate handicap space, because the valet would be able to take that car and just park it. So there's no particular need in a valet garage for a handicap. Each space, in some ways, is available to a handicap user because the person would get out in the queuing area and then the attendant would park the car.
Yeah, I'm aware that that's the way zoning works. It just looks like a tight squeeze, and if somebody has a handicap van, it looks like that takes up more than one spot.
Okay, and could we address the green space question that Mr. Hart had?
Well, what was that screening on the roof?
Yes.
There's no parking on the roof. I'm not sure I follow that question.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood then. I thought there was, so the building, I'm sorry, then it was my misunderstanding. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, not a problem. All right, Mr. Hart, I'm going to put you back into
Well,
the attendee.
May I just ask about the potential about bollards or something in front of the parking areas so that it's a more protective thing than a motion light or something like that? Can they get some sort of permission from Department of Transportation or something to put something in front?
Well,
And
I think they have planters in front of the 10th Street location, and that brings up a good point. Maybe we can duplicate those planters on the 9th Street side, where that warning light is going to be.
I just will end off by saying I'm still concerned about the lack of the 20 spots. And I think that the burden that they don't want to take on is a burden to the neighborhood for the rest of the project being there.
I would counter and just reply with on page 5 of the redevelopment plan, item J says the goal of the plan is to reduce automobile dependency by encouraging high density development in close proximity to mass transit and neighborhood services with low automobile parking ratios and with bicycle parking requirements. So I think that our solution serves that purpose and meets the goal of the redevelopment plan.
Okay, we're 9 blocks away from the First Street, which is the back end of the mall that people then have to walk through in order to get to the PATH station. So this is an area which is not yet, divested of people who want to use cars. And I appreciate that you're doing a very good job here. I was not able to voice my opinions earlier on in the phase or was not able to make an impact. That doesn't mean I'm going to let you off the hook now, but it's still just a burden on the neighborhood, and it will be if these if the people in the units that you're now creating and providing are going to be using more cars than what you're allowing for. Thank you, though.
Okay.
Thank you.
Chris, we can't hear you.
I'm sorry, I had my mic muted. I just wanted to thank Mr. Hart. I'm going to bump you back down to an attendee. And I don't see, where is he? There. And no, I appreciate the points you made. There were some great points in there. Okay, is there anybody else from public that wants to comment? Just raise your hand as an attendee. If you're calling in, press *9, and that would raise your hand and indicate that you wanted to speak. Anybody from public want to comment? Okay, I don't see anybody. Can we have a motion to close the public portion?
This is Commissioner Torres. Seeing no public, I move to close the public portion of this meeting.
Commissioner Cruz, I second it.
Okay, so we have a motion to close public from Commissioner Torres and a second from Commissioner Cruz. Okay, can we have Lindsay to wrap up?
Yeah. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Lindsay. Thanks for staying so late.
Yeah, of course. So I did prepare a staff report all the way back February 10th, 2020. Feels like a very long time ago at this point. However, I do want to clarify, like Mr. Harrington stated, there is no deviation for minimum parking. However, as stated in the redevelopment plan, the applicant must demonstrate that the parking management plan can meet demand. So they're providing 147 spaces, whereas they would be required to have 167 without the management plan. And as the plan states, a minimum of 20 spaces will be allocated, be shared. So way to think about it is the way to fill the gap of those 20 spaces, difference between 167 and 147 spaces. And it's already been stated, shared parking is encouraged in the redevelopment plan. Therefore, it's the opinion of staff that sufficient parking is being provided and meets the intent of the redevelopment plan. Unless anyone had any questions for me regarding the parking management plan, I had a quick question for the applicant's experts.
Sure, go ahead, Lindsay.
All right, so this is for either Mr. Shizbet or Mr. Marchetto. Can you please confirm the approved and existing size of the dog run adjacent to the screen stacked parking? Because that area is shifting a bit, it looks like. The plan requires a path of 15 feet. So if you could just confirm that the path is going to be maintained at 15 feet to function as a dog run, I would appreciate that.
Mark, I'm going to defer to you. That's a site plan issue.
Mark?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question, please?
Yeah, could you confirm the existing size of the dog run, the one that's adjacent to screen stacked parking on 9th Street? Because the plan requires a path of 15 feet.
The dog run that's there now is not changing. A path of 15 feet in which, I'm not sure you're talking about, which direction is the path supposed to be?
Well, maybe I could address it, Lindsay. It's staying in its present condition. It's not being encroached upon. That dog run area was built out as part of phase 2. It's required to stay there, and in the future, it's either going to be dedicated and accepted by the city, or it will remain as open space. So that
Right.
is not being encroached upon.
Right. I was just kind of leafing through the plans that we have for distribution, and I wasn't seeing an existing conditions plan. So I just want to have that on the record that as a condition of approval, that signature plans do show existing conditions, just to certify that the dog run isn't being altered at all with this new stacked parking configuration.
Okay.
Yep. And other than that, staff accepts the testimony provided by the applicant's professional planner regarding the deviations. And like I said, I did prepare that staff report. They're all somewhat standard conditions. That, for the record, I guess that will end up being maybe 3 or 4, depending on what we're marking the 2 presentations that we saw. But we can always figure that out. But just as long as that's marked.
Mark, could I just add, Mark Chisvet, if you could address the 9th Street parking, you talked about maybe some barriers that are outside that. Can you hear
Sure.
So we're all on the same page?
Well, it's both on the 9th Street and the 10th Street side. I mean, we're on along 10th Street. There's planters starting along the Phase 1 building, and we're continuing that same streetscape look, the 4-foot wide planters along the building. So even though the door to the garage is not recessed back 4 feet into the building, the pedestrians cannot walk along the building wall because they'd be walking through planters. So they would be walking at least 4 feet out away from the outside wall of the building anyway. So effectively, the planters do the same thing that a recessed garage door would do. Over on the 9th Street side, we have the same similar pattern of planters along the Phase 2 building. So once again, anyone who's walking along that sidewalk, they're not walking up against the building. They have to be 4 feet away anyway, because there are planters there. And as was suggested before, we could always add one more planter in the sidewalk on the opposite side. There's one now on the easterly side of that driveway exit. We could always add another one on the other side of that, so pedestrian coming from the other direction would still be forced to walk 4 feet away from that exit.
And that would help to address Mr. Hart's concerns about pedestrians on that side.
Yeah, I think that would be the way to go, is add another planter on the western side of that garage exit on 9th Street.
Okay.
Okay, and so that's the end of your comments, Lindsay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I'll entertain a motion from the board.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to approve case P19-181, preliminary and final major site plan with deviations.
And I would like to second of it.
Okay, so I have a motion from Commissioner Thakur and a second from Commissioner Cruz.
Yes.
Commissioner Torres? Commissioner Torres?
I just want to make one quick comment. I appreciate that Mr. Hart did come out and he made one good point though. And these redevelopment plans, Venus Jones and Emerson redevelopment plan, anything in that part of Jersey City, you got to always remember it is a 10 to 12 block walk to Pavonia Station or Grove, and it is about a 6 block walk in the wintertime for some people to walk to York Avenue and wait for the 80 bus or a bus to come down to take them path. Just something to keep in mind. I want to put that on the record. Sometimes we need to realize that it is a longer walk towards Grove Street Station for that section of Jersey City. So they will be using cars, most people, some people, to get around. And with that, though, I like the plan and I vote aye.
Commissioner Cruz?
Aye.
Councilwoman Waterman?
Aye.
Dr. Desai? Sorry, Dr. Desai, you cut out. Did anyone else hear?
No.
She voted aye.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Gangadin?
Aye.
Commissioner Thakur?
Aye.
And Chairman Langston?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Mr. Hart for making the effort to get on here. I know it's not, the ideal condition being online right now. So thank you. And I vote aye.
Motion carries, all in favor with conditions.
Thank you.
Did we get that? I think I froze up.
I'll repeat it though. Can you hear me, Chris?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Did I freeze up?
No.
The vote aye.
Yeah, I'm an aye.
Yeah, motion carries, all in favor with conditions.
Okay, thank you, everybody. So
everyone.
let's, Mr. Harrington, I'm gonna knock your team down to attendees.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, where are you? Okay, attendee, and where is,
Don't you turn that TV off?
I don't see Mr. Chisvet anywhere. I think he's off already. Okay, so let's move on. We're going to memorialize some resolutions, everybody. Maybe I'll just read them into the record real quick. I have them on my phone. And then I'll ask for a motion and a second. We have the resolution of the Planning Board of the City of Jersey City, applicant GND, Witten Street Holdings, Urban Renewal LLC, for a preliminary and final major site plan approval with a deviation for 412 to 418 Witten Street, Jersey City, New Jersey, block 17505, lots 17 and 18. That's case number P19-046. We have a resolution of the Planning Board of Jersey City approving preliminary and final major site plan with deviations submitted by 416 Hoboken Avenue LLC. The address is 414 to 432 Hoboken Avenue, block 6701, lots 6 through 12. That case number is P19-143. We have a resolution of the Planning Board of the City of Jersey City approving preliminary and final major site plan with deviation and conditions. The applicant is 407 EEB LLC for a preliminary and final major site plan approval with deviation. The property is at 3 to 7 Bennett Street. The block number is 20701. That's lots 1 and 2. And that case number is P1, I'm assuming a 9, Matt? P19-093. It only says P1 on the email. I have a resolution of the Planning Board of the City of Jersey City. Applicant is 126 to 142 Morgan Street Urban Renewal LLC. It's for a 3-year extension of an interim use approval. Block number 11505, lot 1, formerly known as block 140, lots A1 and B1. That's for 10 Provost Street. That case number is P20-007. I have a resolution of the Planning Board of the City of Jersey City.
Froze.
Am I back, everybody?
Just start from that last one.
Okay. I have a resolution of the Planning Board of the City of Jersey City. Applicant is 181 to 189 Academy LLC. It's for a minor subdivision approval with C variance for lot width, side yard setback if necessary. The address is 175 to 187 Academy Street, Jersey City, New Jersey. The block number is 12308, lots 9, 10, and 11. Proposed lots 7.01 and 702. And that case number is P19-189. So I need a motion to approve those resolutions.
Mr. Chairman, would like to make a motion to approve the resolutions that were just read.
And I'm looking for a second from somebody.
Second it.
Okay, so we have a motion is made and seconded. Can we get a roll call on that, Matt?
Yes, Commissioner Torres.
Aye.
Commissioner Cruz.
Aye.
Commissioner Desai.
Aye.
Councilwoman Waterman.
Aye.
Commissioner Gangadin.
Aye.
Commissioner Takur,
Aye.
and Chairman Langston.
Aye. Okay, do we need an executive session, anybody? I think I froze up again.
We hear you.
We hear you.
We can hear
We
you.
hear you, but you're not moving. There you go.
Okay, I'm back again. Okay, do we need an executive session, anybody?
Nope.
Close again.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
You
I'll
did a great
entertain,
job, Chris. I want to tell you that.
thank
You
you,
did a great
guys.
job.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I would
Yeah, make
appreciate
the
that
mo-
motion.
Yeah,
Mr. Chairman,
second.
would like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
I second it.
I have
Second
a
it,
motion to adjourn
everybody.
and a motion to second. Thank you, everybody. We're adjourned. Enjoy the rest of your night. We'll